Now you've done some directing in your career as well.
It's true, I have.
How did you get drawn into directing?
Well, I like the fact that the director has more of a say-so. You know, just as the choreographer, it's like, yeah, but that, you know, if it's a director that you're not terribly crazy about, every once in a while they just go, oh, find something else to do. And I'd go, you find something else to do. So it just is a control issue, I guess. I like being the one who could decide. And if I liked it, then it stayed. And if I didn't like it, I'll change it.
Do you think your background as a choreographer helped you as a director?
Oh, absolutely.
How so?
Because choreography is about movement, and as a choreographer, you want the movement seen a specific way. And sometimes there are directors that go, Kevin, I'll direct, you choreograph. And I go, you know what? See ya. Because I want it to be collaborative. And if you don't like it, tell me what it is you don't like about it, and we'll see if we can come to some agreement.
You directed a number of fitness videos.
Yes.
One in particular, Do It Debbie's Way with Debbie Reynolds.
Right.
That was 1983, I believe.
Uh-huh.
Talk a little bit about putting that together and working with Debbie.
Well, again, I think fitness is very important, and I think fitness through dance is important. And so when we were coming up with it, doing it Debbie's way was, she said, I don't care so much about the fact that it's called Do It Debbie's Way. I want to make sure that it's something that's good for the public, good for the people that are going to be doing it. So we worked at that, and you know, sometimes we'd come up with some movement or other, and I'd go, you know what? Dancers will be okay doing this, but the general public's not going to love this. So let's just leave this one out.
Was dance your main way of staying fit? Did you have a regular routine that you did?
Dance was really what I used to stay fit. And I was also a swimmer. And I was the champion breaststroke swimmer in school. I won a number of races, and I was the best at the breaststroke.
Did you ever have any injuries that you had to deal with throughout your career?
Yes. Yeah. Usually it was about the legs and the feet or something. But one injury I had, I don't think I broke my leg, but it was a really bad sprain. So I was hobbling around. I still have the canes that I used. So it's just one of those aspects of that is part of dance, you know. It's like a sport. So you have to be in the same condition that a sports person is in.
Another video that you directed, I think, was the 5-minute workout starring Sandy Duncan and Kevin Carlisle.
Yes.
You're on camera for that one. So
Right.
Talk a little bit about putting that together.
Well, again, it was the same thing. It's always about what do I want to get from this myself? What do I want to pass along to whoever might be wanting to use this?
And did talent usually approach you to put this together?
Yes.
If they wanted a fitness video?
Yeah.
Very good. So let's talk about a few more variety specials that you were involved in. In 1971, you choreographed the Doris Marianne Kapeloff special. Am
Yes.
I saying that right?
Yes.
So that was with Doris Day.
Yes.
Tell us about working with her.
Well, she is one of the sweethearts of the world. And again, somebody who admired my work and wanted me to bring something to her. She didn't want to demand things. She just wanted to look the best that she possibly could.
And you were telling us off camera that you had some input in the title of that show.
Yes.
So her real name is?
Marianne Kappelhoff, right? And I said, you know, honey, that just doesn't flow trippingly off the tongue. So let's see if we can find something we like better. And she said, well, you know, sometimes growing up, kids called me Dee Dee. I went, let's see if we can come up with something from that. See, Dee Dee. Is Doris a name that you wouldn't mind? She said, oh, I like that. And not Doris Evening, Doris Night. How about Doris Day?
Sounds good. Now, Perry Cuomo's in that special with her. Talk about working with him and kind of pairing the two of them together.
Well, again, he's another one of those people who is not, doesn't, so it was just about the fact that, who are we talking about?
Perry?
And his magic Como? It's just that he was just like his voice. He was just smooth and didn't want to be, he said, running around isn't something I'm going to be happy with. So don't give me any of that runaround stuff, you know. I'm just fine. Sitting on the stool would be just perfect.
Another one that you choreographed, the Beatrice Arthur special in 1980. Tell us about working with her.
Well, I mean, the most fun we had was when she decided she wanted to look like Dolly Parton. So I went, well, what is it about Dolly that you like so much? She went, blah. I said, well, let me see if we can do something about that, since that isn't the way you were constructed. So we went to Bob Mackey or something. He said, oh, we can do this. Come on, Kevin, let's have some fun.
Now, was she someone who did want to do a lot of dancing, or not so much?
Not so much. Not so much.
There were a couple guest stars on that show, Rock Hudson and Melba Moore.
Yeah. Any
memorable moments with them?
Well, Rock Hudson, because he's so unattractive, I was really looking forward to working with him and making him look more attractive. And Melba was just a sweetie.
You choreographed Christmas at Pee-wee's Playhouse, the 1988 TV movie, which had a lot of guest stars. Little Richard, Frankie and Annette, Grace Jones. Tell us a little bit about putting some of that together.
Well, again, when there are that many different personalities involved, it is one of those challenges I enjoy. And as long as they aren't real demanding, I'm fine with getting their input and going, okay, we can try it that way, but how about if we took it and did it this way instead? And if they went, not as far as I'm concerned, and I go, you know what, see ya.
Did Paul Rubens have a really kind of clear vision of what he was looking for?
Yeah, yeah. And he was great fun, great fun.
1989, you choreographed Julie and Carol together again with Julie Andrews and Carol Burnett.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, they are just separately and together two of my favorite people to work with, and just as friends. They are such good friends, so that I say, okay, they're some of the people that I go, okay, so what would you like to do? And more often than not, they go, Kevin, I'm the star, you're the director and choreographer, you decide. I'll tell you if it's not comfortable.
There's a lot of different kinds of numbers on that. There's kind of a hip-hop number, and there's a spoof of Phantom of the Opera. There's a couple medleys. I mean, you kind of went all over the place with the music and the dancing here. So they were open to whatever?
They were, yeah. They were looking for whatever.
Very nice. What did you like about choreographing variety specials in particular?
Well, I guess I liked the fact that I had developed enough of a reputation that they allowed me to be the person with the most input about what we should do, which music would be best, which of their songs or which of the music they liked that we would work well together doing.
Now, you've worked with a number of people in the industry, either on television shows or stage work. I'm just going to name a few names and tell me what you recall or something about working with them.
Okay.
So we'll start with Liberace.
Ah, well, he was just, you know, he was a personality, a huge personality, and he had no huge ego about it, but he knew the kind of thing that he wanted to do and how he wanted to be seen. And again, it was one of those situations where he'd go, "Kevin, I'd really like to do this." And I'd go, "Are you sure you really want to do that?" "Well, what do you think?" That's what I liked hearing.
And you mentioned off camera that he was a family friend of yours?
He was. He was. And so whenever he was in, this was when I still lived in Michigan before I graduated from high school. And whenever he came to town, he would come, very often stay at our house. But he would come, and my father, who was a singer and also played the piano, his job was as a manufacturer, but he was a singer since he'd been a young man. And he and Liberace just hit it off. And they'd sit at the piano, and boy, I wish I had video of all those times, because they were delightful.
That's amazing. Judy Garland.
Well, you know, she was another of those people that could be a really pain to work with. And I was hired to do something with her, and I said, "You know, I know that you have opinions of your own, but I'm here as the director, or choreographer, or the director. You tell me what you'd like, and I'll tell you if I think that that's good for you. And if it's not, I'll do everything I can to change your mind." And Judy was Judy. She was another one of, there's nobody like her. She opened her mouth, and I just went, "Oh, please."
When you knew you were going to be working with someone, would you ever kind of do research on them,
Oh,
watch
sure.
their past work, kind of see what their strengths and weaknesses were?
Yes, I would, always, always.
So was that easy for you to do at that time, getting copies of things to watch? Or because if it were the 50s or 60s, you didn't necessarily have a VHS tape or a DVD you could just go get.
Well, except that most of the time you did.
Oh, okay. So it was easy for you to get what you needed?
Yes, yeah. And it was a great help.
So another name, Barbra Streisand.
Again, Barbara I was engaged to be married at one point in my career, in my life, I mean. And she was my fiance's roommate. And at that point she was going with Elliot Feld. So the four of us would double date often. And it's another one of those times when, you know, we'd go out and people would go, "Look."
Did you ever work with her professionally, choreograph for her?
Who?
Did you ever work with Barbara professionally and choreograph for her?
Yes.
And what was she like as a dancer? Did she want to do a lot of movement?
She was another one that really knew her limitations. And if I asked her to do something that she was not comfortable doing, she said, "Kevin, could you change that? Because that doesn't make me comfortable. And I really prefer to be comfortable." I'd say, "Well, take an A out of your name."
And that's what happened.
Yes.
Gene Kelly.
Oh, well, he's one of my heroes. And I had seen him in films and everything before, as I was growing up, you know, and then I found out that, does it say what the special was?
I don't think I have that here. Let me look quickly. It was for television, though. You
Yes.
worked with him.
Yeah.
It looks like you worked with him when he was host on one of the Chevrolet specials.
Ah, yes.
And you also worked with Barbara Eden, Engelbert Humperdinck,
Uh-huh.
the Osmond brothers, and Robert Culp.
Yes.
It's not a bad mix of people.
It's a very nice mix.
So Gene, being a dancer and choreographer himself, what was he like taking direction from another choreographer?
Well, fortunately, he respected me enough to say, Kevin, you tell me what you think would be best here, and I'll tell you what I think. And then between us, we'll decide. So that's the way we worked. And that's the way I always work, you know. And fortunately, I've gotten to the place where I have enough respect from other people, where if I say, if that's what you'd like, and that's not what I'd like for you to do, you know, there's this other person over here that I know you're aware of, and I'll be on the phone with them, and I'll get them to work with you. You'll be very happy, and then so will I.
Elizabeth Taylor.
Well, you know, she is known as one of the most beautiful human beings on the planet. And it's true. I was working with her with one of those benefit situations where there are a lot of females, and I worked with them all separately, and so I went over to her house to work with her. And we were working, she said, oh, Kevin, it's so stuffy, and let's go for a walk. I said, oh, are you sure? A walk? She said, yes, Sunset Boulevard's right down here. I went, oh, yeah, sure. Me walking down Sunset Boulevard with Elizabeth Taylor? She said, it's okay. So we're walking down there, and I kept going. She said, they won't believe it's me, because they wouldn't believe I would be out here. And it was true, because people would be walking by, and I go, do you know who this is? And they went, well, she looks like Elizabeth Taylor, but it couldn't be her.
Another name on the list, Jerry Lewis.
Oh, well, he was Jerry Lewis, you know. I'm the funny one, you would say. And he was. He had punchlines more than I do. That pissed me off, you know. It's like no, he was very funny.
And Cher.
Cher, just totally unique. And it was just wonderful to pick up the phone and call Bob Mackie and go, I'm working with this artist named Cher. He went, you're working with who? Cher. Well, what do you want? I want you to make her look really beautiful all the time, he said. Well, I can do that. And he did.
Do you remember how you first met Bob Mackie?
I don't, but I know it was through some television show that I was doing.
You've also done a lot of work internationally on TV specials.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that and your travels. Well,
I've done a number of things in Mexico and in Japan. And it's again another one of those situations where the Japanese people are very, there's something about the structure of their what? The Japanese are very, the words will not come to me right now,
just
but they are.
In kind of their demeanor, or?
Yes, and there's something about they're very respective. So they would always ask me if what they were doing was good, or did I like it, or would I like to change it? So the fact that they opened that door to me just made it more enjoyable for me, that's all.
So were you traveling with the same group, or were you doing local auditions for dancers in the different countries that you were in?
Usually I would do auditions in the different countries, have auditions there, and if I didn't speak the language, I would hire somebody who did and could assist me. And that way I actually got to learn more languages, which I really enjoy.
Talk a little about that process. I mean, did you find that kind of dance was its own language and would translate when you were teaching it to other
Mostly,
people?
yes. Yeah, you know, they're just a number of things that the body can do and a number of things that it can't do. So, I mean, if you wanted them to do the splits, well, not everybody can do that, you know, and then why would you want to do that anyway? It's just...
So we'll have a few summing up questions now, if that's okay.
Okay, well, 2 and 2 is 4.
Oh, all right, perfect.
4 and
you
4
nailed
is
it.
8. 8 and 8 are 16. 16 and 16 are 32. Isn't there a song that does that?
I'm not sure, but that sounds good to me.
Inchworm, measuring a marigold. Yes, there is. There's a counter melody and everything.
We'll have you choreograph something to it next.
Okay, right.
So how do you think choreography for television has changed since you first started in the industry?
Well, it changes depending on the changes in life and what's going on in the world, you know, and like what just happened, you know, which is so devastating that...
For people who might be watching in the future, you're referring to the shooting in Las Vegas.
That's
that just
right.
Happened.
That's right. Yeah.
How about things like changing camera technology and moving from like live performances to tape or film, or did all of that affect how you would do your work as a choreographer?
It does. It always does, in every aspect of it. And because on stage, depending on where you are in the theater, there's a distance involved. You know, with television, you can be right on top of it always and see the angle you want and see it from the back if you want, to see it from the top of their head if you want. And so I find it more fascinating, more interesting to work in television.
What do you enjoy about choreography?
Well, at this point in time, just about everything about it. Because I watch the way people feel when they're doing it. If it's somebody that I have choreographed something for, I like seeing the fact that they really like what I've done for them and with them. And it just is something that has given me great pleasure my whole life.
Do you think you have a signature style?
Not really. I mean, Solid Gold was the closest to my coming up with something unique, because it was a kind of a style that hadn't been done before. It wasn't classical ballet, it wasn't tap, it was just this thing I was able to do with my body.
As we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of dance programs on television now. Dancing with the Stars, So You Think You Can Dance, World of Dance. Why do you think audiences enjoy watching dance on television?
Well, I think the fact that it's enjoyable to watch, and it's something most people feel they can't do, but they enjoy watching. So, and if it's a specific star that they like, that they see dancing a certain way, they like that. You know, if it's somebody that does machine gun tap dancing, it's one thing, and classical ballet is another, and modern dance was something unique to itself as well. She did in bare feet.
And was that an aspect that you liked?
I did.
Actually,
Yeah.
talk a little bit about footwear for dance, because there's different shoes for tap, for ballet. I mean, talk about these
Yes,
as tools.
because they do specific things. You know what a toe shoe is? You know, a ballet dancer dances actually on the tip of her toe. But in that shoe is padding so that she's able to do that without breaking her foot, which I don't care how comfortable it looks. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world to have to be on what you call on point. So tap dancing is something that's easier for them to.
So when you were learning these styles at Juilliard, was getting all the different shoes and equipment just part of what you did?
Yes.
Was that your own expense that you were paying, or was that kind of included in?
No, that was all your own expense.
Have you had any mentors throughout your career?
Well, Barry Manilow definitely is one of my mentors, and because he calls me whenever he can to work on his shows or update them to make sure that what he's doing is still making him look good.
What about any of your dancers from your teachers from Juilliard? Anyone you'd consider a mentor?
Not really. Not really. They all were from a different style. Modern dance, classical ballet, but not really.
What would you say is your proudest career achievement?
Working with sign language, because I have a couple of really close friends who are deaf, and they were known in past days as deaf mutes, not just as hearing impaired people, which is what it is now. Deaf mutes, it just had a thud to it, you know. And so the fact that I was able to bring semblance of joy to my deaf friends meant a great deal to me.
And that's a kind of choreography itself.
Yes.
The hands.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have any career regrets?
Not that I can think of offhand, but it would be that I couldn't have done more.
And you're still active in choreography then? You're still working?
I sweet potato.
What does that mean?
I yam. Sorry.
So you mentioned you're still working with Barry Manilow.
Yes.
What are some of the other projects you're involved in, or is working with Barry your main role right now?
Primary, yes.
Very nice. So what advice would you give to an aspiring choreographer?
Make sure that what you're doing is something that gives you great pleasure. And if it's not, then find something else to do, because it's too much work to not enjoy it. So that would be my advice.
And then our final question is, how would you like to be remembered?
As taller than I am. No, I would like to be remembered as somebody that brought joy.
Absolutely. Well, you brought us a lot of joy with the shows that we watched, so
Good.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thanks for chatting with us today, and I think now we're going to look at some photos that you have to show us.
Okay.
So we'll take a short break and we'll come back with those.
Okay.
Wonderful.